Carl Jung discovered that genuine self-love isn't about standing in front of a mirror, repeating affirmations in an attempt to convince yourself that you're enough. True self-love emerges in the moments when you're willing to confront your shadow, the hidden parts of yourself you've pushed away out of fear of being judged, of being rejected. From early childhood, many of us are conditioned to hide aspects of ourselves that might seem unacceptable. If you've ever been told you're too sensitive, too intense, or somehow not enough, you likely learned to suppress your true nature. You began to conceal your authentic self, believing that was the only way to be loved or accepted. But these emotional wounds don't disappear. They remain, silently influencing how we connect with others. Jung observed that we tend to attract relationships that reflect the parts of us that still need healing. If you carry a deep belief that you're unworthy of love, you'll often find yourself drawn to people who reinforce that very belief. Not because life is harsh or unfair, but because your subconscious is guiding you toward unresolved pain. It's as though life keeps placing a mirror in front of you, showing you the parts you've long avoided. That's why so many people feel stuck in patterns, moving from one relationship to the next, always hoping for something different, yet finding themselves in the same emotional place, facing the same hurt. One of the most difficult cycles we repeat is seeking in others what we haven't yet given ourselves. We hope someone else will come along and make us feel worthy, offer us the love and acceptance we've been missing. But the truth is, no one can give you what you're not ready to give yourself. The love you receive from the world will always mirror the love you have for yourself. And when that love becomes real and rooted, something within you shifts. You stop trying to prove your worth. You no longer seek affection through struggle or compromise. Instead, your love becomes something sacred, meant to be shared with those who truly honor it. As this inner transformation occurs, your energy changes. And with that, the people in your life begin to shift. Some may drift away, people who once felt vital to your story. At first, this might feel like loss, like abandonment. But it's actually a clearing. You're making space for connections that resonate with who you've become. Relationships built on mutual respect and shared values. You begin to engage with others from a place of wholeness, not need. You're no longer surrounded by those who drain your spirit, but by those who encourage your growth. Still, this path isn't easy. Fear will rise, doubts will surface, you'll question your choices. Silence and solitude may arrive, testing your resolve, but it's in that silence that you meet yourself. You begin to see that you were never truly alone, that you've always been enough, and that the love you sought outside was quietly waiting within. That's when change really begins, when you let go of the urge to be validated. Suddenly, recognition comes without you chasing it. The right people enter your life, not because you've changed tactics, but because your energy has evolved. Because when you genuinely love yourself, only those who can appreciate that love will find you. The relationships we attract aren't random. They reflect our current state of awareness. If you carry a mindset of scarcity, you'll encounter relationships that highlight that emptiness. If you carry unresolved wounds, you'll meet people who activate them, not to harm you, but to show you where healing is still needed. Sometimes, life sends people who challenge you deeply, who let you down, betray your trust, or make you feel inadequate. And yet beyond the pain lies a lesson. These people are reflections of your subconscious, holding up a mirror to the parts of yourself you haven't acknowledged. It's tempting to blame them, to highlight their faults, to slip into the role of the victim. But as Jung emphasized, real learning doesn't come from theories or advice. It comes from asking, what is this experience teaching me about myself? That's where inner growth begins. Every person who crosses your path plays a role. Some bring lessons, some stretch your limits, some uplift and support, others mirror what you've outgrown. When you truly understand this, Your perspective shifts. You stop forcing things to last when they're meant to end. You no longer hold on to people who were never meant to be permanent. You accept that not all relationships are lifelong, but all are meaningful. Each interaction contributes to your individuation, Jung's term for the journey toward your most authentic self. A common mistake is believing that love is about finding someone who completes you. But real, mature love isn't about filling a void. It's about sharing your completeness. It's not about needing someone to feel whole, but walking together as two whole individuals. That's the difference between relationships that drain and those that nourish. In one, you're always sacrificing, always trying to measure up. In the other, you can simply be without pretense, without effort. If you've ever felt emotionally exhausted in a relationship, like you were always giving more, always trying harder, then it's time to reflect. Ask yourself, what part of me is allowing this pattern? Because no one can make you feel unworthy unless you allow it. No one can disregard your boundaries unless you first disregard them yourself. The problem is, we often stay in relationships not because we're unaware they're unhealthy, but because we're afraid. Afraid of loneliness, of the unknown, of not finding something better. But the real question is, are you choosing from love or fear? When you choose from self-love, everything shifts. You stop accepting emotional crumbs. You no longer chase validation. You understand that your energy is valuable, that your light isn't meant to be dimmed for those who can't appreciate it. That's when something powerful happens, what Jung called synchronicity. When you let go of what no longer aligns, life starts to align in ways that seem almost magical. You begin to attract people and opportunities that reflect your inner growth. This isn't luck. It's not coincidence. It's the natural result of your changing frequency. It's as if life has been waiting for you to recognize your own worth before sending you what was always meant for you. But to reach that stage, you must transform. You must face the shadows, confront the fears, break the cycles. And that's never easy. Healing requires surrender, letting go of control and trusting that what is meant for you will arrive in its time. Many struggle here. They try to let go, but still carry fear. They say goodbye, but hope for a return. They claim to choose themselves, but still long to be chosen. But the universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to your deepest beliefs, to what you truly feel. When you love yourself completely, when you prioritize your peace, your value, your energy, everything begins to change. You no longer accept partial love. You no longer engage in harmful dynamics. You realize love should not diminish you. It should elevate you, and the right person won't need to be convinced of your worth. They'll recognize it from the start. At that point, you stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself, and only those who are aligned with your light will be drawn to you. Individuation, as Jung described, isn't just about awareness. It's a rebirth. A redefinition of your entire reality. On this path, self-love isn't optional, it's essential, because only when you embrace all of yourself, including the wounded, the hidden, and the rejected, can you experience relationships that reflect your true value. It's easy to say, I love myself when life is calm. But self-love is tested in chaos, in loss, in silence, in solitude. That's when you discover its depth. Many crumble under rejection. They take it as confirmation that they're not enough. They hold on to what's gone out of fear. But what if the unknown isn't something to fear, but the beginning of something better? Jung offered us a profound insight. The shadow isn't an enemy. It's a teacher. It reflects what's unhealed within us. It's the gateway to real change. If you've ever wondered why the same painful relationships keep showing up, the answer isn't out there. It's within. These patterns repeat to wake you up, to bring your attention to what must be healed. When you avoid the lesson, life repeats it. The faces may change, the details may vary, but the message stays the same until you choose to listen. True self-love isn't just about walking away from those who don't value you. It's also about asking, why did I accept less than I deserved? In the first place, loving yourself means going back to the source of the wound, facing it, and choosing not to let it define you. This isn't easy. It challenges everything you've learned. It requires you to give yourself the love you've spent a lifetime seeking from others. But when you do, when you truly start honoring yourself, the people who once drained your energy will naturally fade. Not because you push them away, but because they no longer resonate with who you are becoming. Your frequency changes, forced connections dissolve, and new ones begin to form, genuine, reciprocal, and aligned. This is where Jung's concept of synchronicity becomes most powerful. Life doesn't reward you with magic. It reflects your transformation. When you change, your reality changes. With you, the love you once chased now finds you. The opportunities you thought were out of reach begin to appear. Not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally become yourself. So ask yourself, are you ready to let go of what no longer serves you? To stop waiting for external validation and start claiming your worth? Because the truth has always lived inside you. It was never about the other It was always about you, and when you fully accept that, when you choose self-love without condition, life responds in kind. It reveals what was always waiting within. Real transformation begins not when the world sees your worth, but when you stop abandoning yourself, because as Carl Jung said, what you most need will be found where you least want to look. There was never anything to fear. The peace you've been seeking in others has always lived within you. And once you recognize that, something inside shifts. You no longer settle for surface-level connections. You no longer try to fill your emptiness with people who take more than they give. Because now, the love you offer comes from a place of wholeness, not from need. And that's when life starts responding to you differently. When you truly love yourself, you stop chasing. You stop trying to earn a place where you're not genuinely welcomed. What's meant for you begins to show up, not because you pleaded for it, but because you became aligned with it. Relationships stop being driven by fear, fear of being alone, fear of not measuring up. Instead, they become about joy, about sharing, not surviving. You're no longer caught in games of control or manipulation. You stop holding on to what doesn't flow. People who once seemed essential now feel distant, not because you stopped caring, but because you've outgrown that part of your journey. You now see that not all endings are failures. Some are the exact turning points your soul needed. There's a major difference between desiring something and being ready to receive it. You might want a healthy relationship, but if deep down you still feel unworthy, it won't come. You might long for deep love, but if your wounds remain unhealed, you'll push it away when it arrives, because life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're prepared to handle. So if you've ever wondered, why do things stay the same? Why am I stuck in the same painful patterns? The answer is simple, yet powerful. There's still something within you that needs to shift, not because you're being punished, but because life is showing you what you've been avoiding. The day you choose to let go, to release what no longer aligns with your true self, to choose peace over fear, that's the day things begin to change. Because the love you're searching for, the sense of completeness, the life you dream of, have all been within you. They've just been waiting for you to believe you're worthy of them. Life isn't about chasing what you think you lack. It's about becoming someone who naturally attracts everything meant for them. But if you keep holding on to what hurts, if you continue relationships that drain you, you're unconsciously telling the universe that you don't believe you deserve more. And that's the hard part. This message isn't spoken out loud. It shows in your actions. Every time you stay where your soul is withering, every time you give love to someone who hasn't earned it, Every time you abandon yourself in the name of hope or loyalty, you reinforce the belief that you can't have better, that you're not enough. But here's the most empowering truth. While you can't control how others act, you can choose what you allow into your life. You can choose where your energy, your light, and your time go. You can decide what to keep and what to finally release. And that choice, that clarity, is your freedom. In that moment where you stop chasing, stop begging, stop settling, you rise. You become magnetic, not because you're searching for love, but because you've become it. You stop running toward happiness, because now happiness comes to you. The journey back to yourself isn't always smooth, but it's worth it. Because in discovering who you are, you stop needing anyone else to complete you. You realize you were never broken, just buried under layers of fear, expectation, and pain. And once you remember who you are, truly, you'll never again forget your worth. You'll stop giving your light to those who can't see it. The life you always wanted begins to unfold. Jung once said, "Destiny isn't something written in the stars. It's something we shape, moment by moment, through our choices." Nowhere is that more true than in love. If you keep attracting the same kind of people, if you keep cycling through the same emotional patterns, it's not bad luck. It's not a curse. It's your subconscious projecting itself onto your experiences. Nothing outside of you will change until something inside does. The right people won't show up when you're desperate for them. They arrive when you've learned how to be at peace on your own, when you've become someone who doesn't need saving. When you stop begging for love or validation because you realize abundance comes not from having endless options, but from knowing you are already whole. When you reach this level of self-awareness, when your sense of worth becomes solid, everything shifts. The drama fades. The people who were only there out of convenience disappear. And the opportunities that once felt out of reach begin to find you, not because the world changed, but because you did. Energy doesn't lie. You can say you love yourself, but if you keep accepting what doesn't serve you, life will reflect that back to you. You might say you're ready for healthy love, but if you continue accepting half effort, that's what you'll keep getting. The outside always mirrors the inside. That's why love can feel like a struggle for so many. They fight to be seen. They give more than they receive. But it's not random. It's a pattern. And patterns only break when you become aware of them and choose differently. Everything changes the moment you stop chasing love, when you realize your energy is sacred, that not everyone deserves access to it. When you truly love yourself, there's no need to prove anything. You don't chase, cling, or convince anyone of your worth. You simply are. And when you stand in your light with confidence, only those who are ready for your truth will stay. Here's the thing. Once you align with your truth, anything that doesn't match it begins to fall away. At first, it may feel like you're losing everything, like chaos is taking over. But as Jung taught, chaos often comes before transformation. Before something new can grow, the old must be cleared. This is where many people resist. They hold on to what no longer fits because the mind fears emptiness. It fears letting go without knowing what comes next. But only when you release without fear, only when you let go of what no longer serves you, can new things enter your life. Love isn't a battle. It's not a test. It's not something you earn through effort. Real love simply is. If you have to force something to work, if you constantly feel you have to earn someone's affection, it's not love. It's fear. It's attachment, and that can't last. True relationships flow. They don't cause anxiety. They don't make you question your worth. They don't leave you in emotional confusion. If you find yourself constantly trying to prove yourself, stop and ask, am I choosing this from love or from fear? From need, many confuse love with dependency. They stay where they're unhappy because the fear of loneliness outweighs their desire for freedom. But here's the paradox. Freedom is what love is built on. Only those who choose freely, without fear or wounds, can experience real love. When your peace becomes your top priority, you stop tolerating what you once did, not because you think you're better, but because you finally understand. Love isn't something to chase or earn. It's something to feel, to give, to receive with ease, and that's when life begins to surprise you. When you stop settling, when you stop seeking outside what has always lived inside you, the universe responds. It mirrors your new alignment. The right people begin to appear, not because they weren't there before, but because now you can finally see them. You're no longer drawn to those who drain your energy, who can't love you fully, because now you know you deserve more. The love you've been looking for was never out there. It was always within you. And the reason many get stuck in toxic patterns is that they haven't yet learned to love themselves enough to choose differently. But once you take that step, once you decide your peace matters more than any relationship, that's when things shift. You're no longer seeking from lack. You've learned to fill yourself up, and just when you let go, just when fear fades, real love appears. Not as something to chase, but as something meant to meet you there. When you make your happiness and self-love non-negotiable, your world begins to change. You stop fearing the loss of others. You know anyone truly meant to stay will never require force. You stop trying to prove your worth, because you know if someone can't see it, they're not meant for you. And most importantly, you stop accepting less, because you've learned to give yourself what you once begged for. Jung said, projection is the key to understanding reality. Everything outside of you, especially in relationships, is a reflection of what's inside. So when you raise your self-love, when you treat yourself with the care you once gave others who didn't return it, everything shifts. Love stops being a power struggle. It stops being painful. It becomes natural. It flows. It's real. And the people you attract from that space, they're aligned. They match your light. And that is the deepest truth. You were never broken. You were never incomplete. You never needed saving. You were always enough. You just hadn't realized it until now. Self-love isn't just walking away from those who can't see your value. It's remembering who you are. It's honoring your energy. It's living in your truth, without apology. Because when you love yourself fully, when you stand in your light without hesitation, only those meant to walk with you will remain. If this message connected with you, do something right now. Share it with someone.